So here's actor Ed Asner, who you probably didn't know was of Ukrainian descent. That would be important in this video because here he is on the Mary Tyler Moore show. He brought in a bunch of other Ukrainians with him or associated with him, and the Ukrainians have a lot to do with Hollywood. But let's connect all this to Hugh. Here's Ed Asner here in the back. You know of Mr. Ed, the talking horse. No coincidence. Came out about the same time. They're referring to Ed Asner, okay? Aha. He comes and runs Hollywood. But Mr. Ed came from Francis the Talking Mule. The idea for Mr. Ed came from a previous show, Francis the Talking Mule. Now, Francis the Talking Mule was originally adapted from a novel by David Stern. Do you know any Sterns in the media right now? Well, here's the show, Francis the Talking Mule, back in the black and white days. Now, if you ever wanted to see a connection between Hollywood and the Federal Reserve banks, and who's really running both, look no further than right here. Stern was the director of the Federal Reserve Bank in Philadelphia. So if you want to see which families run Hollywood and also run your banking system, here's all the proof you'll ever need right here. Oh, and Howard Stern is also of the same family origin. Isn't it interesting that Howard Stern introduced the world to Huey Lewis and the news? Do you really think that's a coincidence? Hugh's first job as a newspaper boy for the Detroit News. The Detroit News stole the words that he invented, bottom line, and put this on the cover of their newspapers. Huey Lewis and the News took their name directly from this association. The big newspaper can do it, why can't they? And also, here you got Stern, who also was a newspaper publisher. So Huey Lewis was not even his real name. It's just all a fraud. Now, Ed Asner was a Ukrainian, and the Ukraine is in the center right now of a big U.S. scandal where U.S. lawmakers' families are funneling foreign aid at U.S. taxpayers' expense into their own pockets as graft and payola. You'll notice that actress Natalie Wood is also of Ukrainian descent. Now, isn't it interesting that she was murdered by the Wagner family? Thrown off of a boat, probably rejected some advance, and they murdered her for it. That'd be my guess. Here's Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley was the Wagner family. We discussed in the last few videos that 10 years to the day after Elvis Presley died, remember Elvis Presley died on a toilet, supposedly. Hugh Squier was chained to a toilet as a 4-year-old. 10 years to the date after Elvis, to the very day after Elvis Presley dies, Hugh is poisoned and his plane goes down on Interstate 94, just outside of the Wayne National Airport in Detroit. Elvis Presley is the Wagner family. It's also no coincidence that the Roden family massacre near the uranium enrichment facility in Piketon, Ohio, was blamed on the Wagner family, as Trump-supporting Ukrainian mafia murdered the Roden family to get Ohio Governor John Kasich out of the presidential race in 2016, which he did about a week after this murder of 8 members of the Roden family. Ukraine, by the way, is where uranium is enriched for the former USSR. Wagner mother appears in court for pre-trial hearing in Roden family massacre. Well, how about Sylvester Stallone? You thought he was Italian, right? Yeah, I did too. Ukrainian Jewish descent. Interesting, isn't it? Now, we mentioned that Mary Tyler Moore was with Ed Asner at the beginning of the article. Moore is in Hugh's family cemetery. Now, this one, most of them may have a picture, but this one didn't have a picture. But it is right there in the website that chronicles his family cemetery. So there really are Moores in his family cemetery, and the Moore family is the Kennedy family. Don't believe me? Ted Kennedy. His real name is Edward Moore Kennedy. Oh, Mr. Ed. Oh, Ed Asner. Moore, huh? Mary Tyler Moore. Want to go back to the beginning? Ed Asner, Mary Tyler Moore. Anybody connecting any dots yet? Now, Hugh's friend growing up was Oscar Tyler Moore. Isn't it interesting that Mary Tyler Moore never received an Oscar? However, she was posthumously honored by the Oscars. This was done because Oscar Tyler Moore died in a car wreck when Hugh was 17 years old, approximately. Now combine the fact that she was not honored by the Oscars until after she died, though she probably deserved one, and the fact that Oscar Tyler Moore died in a car wreck, and see that Oscar Mayer Wiener built a wiener-shaped car. Now, Hugh was also used as a sex slave by the recording industry and people like Daryl Hall, who would stand in a circle around him as he was used by the families of governors and famous musicians. Do you remember the Oscar Mayer song, I wish I was an Oscar Mayer Wiener, then everyone would be in love with me? This song is no coincidence. Hugh Squier really is marked in all media, as it was planned by governors and the electors that put them there. It's the same pedo-gay political alliance that murdered JFK, Jimmy Hoffa, and countless young children, including Hugh's twin brother. And this is why the young Saoirse Kennedy Hill was murdered and then buried at St. Francis. Hugh's middle name is Francis. Go back to the beginning of the article, Francis the Talking Mule. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.